to another Mr. Betamax video, and this one's a little bit different insofar as we are doing a repair for George from GHS Media, and basically the fault with this is the tracking needs to be adjusted more than normal, and just looking at the email actually, and it sometimes loses the picture, but it's okay in search, forward, reverse. So quite a few things that could be literally does need a service, a good clean out. He does mention belts, but of course these only have the one toothed belt for the front loading system, so it won't be belts. But there are also issues with the electronics. Could be a pinch roller, could be contamination on any part of the tape path. I know we've sort of touched on that already. And yeah, so let's have a look. So I've already taken the screws out. So if I can get the top off. So, first impressions. No real play, that's good. The plastics at the base of these can break. I've covered that in other videos, to be fair. Okay. Bit of contamination, but not much. It's not bad. The upper drum looks pretty worn, so it's seen some use, this machine. Also pretty dusty. What I have said is I will change the, depending on what I find, I'll change the two troublesome capacitors on the primary side of the power supply, because they cause no end of problems. So, I suppose the next thing is take the cover off. There's actually a screw missing there, so fair enough. Let's put that out of the way. So let's have another look now the cover's off. So it's pretty contaminated. It needs a good clean, which is fine. We'll resurface that upper drum, and this pinch roller doesn't look great, but the bearings are good. So with these, I've said this before, but with the pinch rollers, as long as the bearings are good and they run on like that, that is fine. Anything else, you can resurface the rubber. You can either use Noel Higgins' method of sort of running a Dremel down it and resurfacing it, or use rubber renew, or give it a good clean, or whatever you want to do. Yeah, so I think the next thing is if we give this a try to see what it does. Okay, so it's the clock is not actually too bad. It actually looks a lot brighter on the camera than it does in person. It's quite dull, very common problem with these. I think that the displays just go bad. So power it on. Never get tired of that. So let's see what happens. And that's actually looking pretty good. The VU meters look good. To be fair, I think this just needs a service. Literally, I mean, George did say it just needs a service, but I think it does just need a clean up. Let's try the tracking. This tape is not brilliant, anyway, but it's enough. It's right at the end as well, which is not ideal. So, go to the other end, back to centre, then back to the bottom end, to the left. You can see it loses sync a bit, which is fairly normal. I suppose we could see what it sounds like. Not too bad for just linear audio, so no hi-fi on this tape. So yeah, okay, well, there's not much wrong with this. I think it just needs a good cleanup. I'll do those caps in the power supply, and hopefully we'll be good to go. Or you can see a little bit of tracking there, just straying in. But yeah, I think what I need to do, give it a good clean, get the upper drum sorted, clean up the pinch roller, and we'll take it from there. Hopefully that'll be a good one. And yes, you might actually notice I've got Betamax Goofs on the screen there. This is actually New Year's Eve, and it's currently 11:15 GMT. So yeah, I thought I'd just sneak in a little bit of a look at this machine because yeah, I've actually got quite a lot to do. So anyway, let's crack on. So the Hall effect's nice and clean now. Not my finest, but it was really, really caked. Very, very thick, and a lot of glue on the legs there. So I'm hoping that saved this Hall effect device. As you might know, if you know these machines, this is a common failure point for the heads not rotating, and it'll basically, the glue absorbs moisture and causes a Hall effect over time to die. So it's pretty good. Still a little bit of glue in there, but I think it's enough. I think we'll get away with that. So yeah, let's crack on. So power supply's out. This has been in smoky atmosphere. I don't think it's nicotine necessarily. It could be a wood fire or wood burner. It doesn't smell of nicotine, but that's obviously not helped the Hall effect as well, because it was very, very dark. The glue absorbs the smoke. So next thing is to change these two, and probably these two as well, but we'll see. I'll take them out and have a look and stick them on a meter, and we'll see. So this is the bottom cover of the power supply shield, and this is after the clean and before. So while I've been beavering away like a chicken looking coy in a KFC, I do actually notice that it does have a certain tobacco-y smell about it, this machine. So yeah, that sort of answers that. So capacitors, I've not tested these, but I'm going to change them. So I've got Nichicon 400 volt, 4.7 microfarad, two of those, and then I've got the all-important bipolar 4.7 microfarad. These are 16 volts. The originals are 10 volts, but I tend to go to 16. Does it make sense? Why wouldn't you? So yeah, let's get those put in and take it from there. New caps fitted. Tiny bit messy, but the board is quite contaminated. We should have cleaned it. And full culprits. I've also fixed a few potential dry joints, but otherwise it's pretty good. I mean, I think fair play, the whole machine seems pretty good. So I just wonder what its secret is. Because these do suffer from their fair share of capacitor issues, and I'm still not convinced we're not going to have problems after I've cleaned this, finished cleaning it and servicing it and whatever with the capstan speed, but we'll see. So I'll get this back together and do the next bit. So the input and output sockets all cleaned up, and also put in the links, the strengthening links of wire, because obviously these get a lot of use, so yeah, they're going to break. So that's all done and looking rather nice, I have to say. It's all back together. So the next thing is to actually resurface the upper drum. I have given it a pretty good clean. You wouldn't know it, would you? But it is actually really pretty much good to go. Done the pinch roller, all the guides, and taken off all the tape residue from the plastic assembly here. There's even some here which I've taken off. Pinch capstan is good as well. So it is literally just the upper drum. Now the upper drum, I did notice when I took the power supply out, get a good look at this, and it is actually pretty contaminated. You probably see some pretty big build up here, and it's so shiny, it's no wonder. So that definitely needs to be done. So let's get and do that next. Time to get this upper drum off. So first thing to do is take the rotor fan off. And gosh, that was tight. Not usually that tight, but blimey. Yeah, that one's not much looser. Take the screw out. So that's on this little, whoops, little bit of cable management back there. And then very carefully remove the plug for the hi-fi audio, which can be difficult. I suspect this one to be no different. You don't really want to pull on the cables, but sometimes you have no choice. They are quite fragile, and they will come out quite easily of the actual plastic. Just gently prying the plug away just to get it moving. There we go. So just had to get it moving a little bit, and I did try and pull on these a little as well. Yeah, that was what I was pulling on, wasn't it? Yes. So yeah, there's a couple of little grooves each side of the plug, which you can actually get a little bit of leverage on. I wouldn't want to put too much pressure on there because I'll just strip straight off, which is not good. So you've probably seen me do this in other videos, but how I like to do this, you can unscrew these, move them out of the way. They're not too bad to set back up, to be honest. They do need to be realigned when you put them back, but I tend to find it's just as easy just to take this off, and that gives you enough clearance. So Allen bolt at the back, single one. Two screws. And there we go. Upper drum is off. And transformers look pretty good, which is great. And the drum itself, you can see, is pretty. It's seen life. So, I was going to say there's a finger mark, but it's not. That is actually contamination on that upper drum. So, yeah, this certainly does need looking at. The lower drum actually doesn't look that bad. How well you can see that. There is actually still some drum there still, but this is shiny. So yeah, that definitely needs a jolly good looking at. So yeah, let's get and do that next. So doing the drum, I have done this in a dedicated video actually, how I tend to do these now. But basically it's Scotch-Brite, fine, relatively fine Scotch-Brite, to give it the sort of take the shine off it again. And then I use Brasso afterwards to clean it, which I know sort of is a bit counterintuitive, because it's like, well, why would you polish it after you've just sort of put the rough layer back on it? It doesn't actually take the rough layer back off. All it does is it removes any metal residue that's left when you sort of scored it up. And then the final thing is some isopropyl, just to remove any residue of the Brasso. So let's get that done. You see, I'm just going parallel to the drum. Don't want to go up and down because you don't want any burrs or anything. There we have it. That's a lot better. Obviously, don't go around the back. Don't want to distort anything. With these, obviously, be careful of the top as well. The cables. Don't press on this. You don't want to shift it if you can help it. This does actually feel slightly loose. I don't know whether that is. Oh, the Allen screws loose. That's interesting. Wonder why that would be. So I might have to do an alignment on that. I'll see what it sounds like. I mean, it's not actually moved, but I can feel it loose. So yeah, with these, it's a feeler gauge. Basically, you get it so the feeler gauge can no longer go in. And that's when you've got it about right. And there's another one then that does go in to get it perfect. Again, I've done that on another video. So another HF100 video, I believe it was. Yes, it was the one that I still haven't completed the series on, because there are a lot of problems with it and lots of other things to get sorted. Repairs for people like this one. So just rub that round. So this is the Brasso. You can see that it's removed a lot of the contamination from the process. You can see how much it's actually taking off there. You don't want that getting into your tape path and tapes and everything else, so this is important to do. You see there, that's still very, very good. Super. And then I'm actually going to use the same cloth, because I'm going to clean it anyway. I'm going to clean the whole tape path once this is back together. So this is just really just to take off the Brasso. So there we have it. That is, I think a mark there. So that is now a good upper drum. Still some marks there. That's from the Scotch-Brite, that's fine. So yeah, that's looking really good. See very slight remnants of where the tape's worn, but that's absolutely fine. That's perfect. So let's get it back together. I'm intrigued to see if this is going to drag on the top there, if I have shifted it, but I could just feel it like a lateral movement, sort of to and fro when I was cleaning the when I was Scotch-Briting it. So it's just like, but yeah, never known one of those be loose. So whether somebody's done work on this and not tighten that up, I don't know. So anyway, let's put it back together. Drop this back on. And put the Allen screw back in first, because that will actually center it correctly in place. Yeah. So you can hear that's the transformer's now dragging, so we'll have to do the alignment on that. Which is fine. And then the longer screws, so this length screw goes here, the shorter ones go here. Don't get muddled. I think you get away with it actually, but you don't really want the screws sort of striking the head disc. Yeah, so that's now solid. So we need to free this off. And it will probably, might even see it move. There's quite a bit of pressure there. Yeah, so just giving it a little wiggle, and that's freed it. We now need to use the feeler gauge to line that back up. Okay, so I found it. And this needs to go how loose that is. Not very. So it's just, so that's too much. It should be so it's just holding on to it. Do it with my fingers, because I could do with a Allen key that is actually has a ball on the end of it for times like this. Make life a lot easier. That's not. Yeah, that's perfect. Lovely. I can't believe that was so loose. So I will put that in the same case. That was actually in my my old HF100 heads. Magic. So let's put the connector back on. Let's just check this Allen bolt is tight, which it is. Then just put the cable management back in. Flashing. She didn't see anything of. Not the best camera angle. I'm sort of just trying to do my best to get this back together and not concentrating on where the camera's pointing, so I do apologise. Super. So let's see what I'm doing. Magic. So there we go, all that together. So the next thing is, let's give the heads a clean. I have done the rest of the tape path. I might have already mentioned that, can't remember. Use the good old tried and tested paper. Obviously cut it, don't tear it. If you tear it, you've got thin fibres of paper and the potential to cause more harm than good. Gently press against the drum and fold the heads. Don't move the paper, especially up and down. If you do that, you're going to more than likely crack, chip or break a head chip, and that would be bad. So it's actually pretty clean. The heads also feel pretty good. You sort of get a bit used to feeling what the gap's like, how much wear there is. We've done this a few times. So yes, that's all good. So that's good to go. Like I say, the rest of the tape path is cleaned. So the last thing I'm going to do before I power this on is actually check what the gear is like under here. So to do that, I'm going to use a normal screwdriver. Slacken this off. Plastic does look pretty fragile, to be honest. The other thing that might be nice is to put a bit of lubrication under there, but 2 screws on the top. Do it without dropping them. Oh, just move this belt out of the way. It doesn't want to let go. There we go. And this will just come off with a little bit of gentle persuasion. There we go. I don't know what I did, but it came off really easily in the end. And ooh, that's interesting. This has a little washer. Let me just lift you up. There's a little washer, so that makes it, that's why it was struggling to come off. So the plastic is actually going between this and traditionally where it would go, sort of between here. But there's this extra washer on the end of the plunger. That's interesting. So this must be quite a late deck. So, okay, well, let's whip this off. Well, I've got the camera in this position. Sorry if it goes shaky. And there may well be, there is in fact, but I might get away with it on this deck. Where's my... Screw did not want to come out. So, looking at this gear here, and it is absolutely perfect. I mean, there is not even the start of a crack on that. It's quite a surprising deck because it's obviously had quite a hard life, but there's so many things in it that are just so good. Okay, so I'm going to get this back together. I may well put just a little bit of silicone grease in there. I'm not going to take the cover off. I'm just going to put a little bit in there. Try and invert this a little bit more. Just get some through there, and then we'll give it a try. So there we have it. It is working. I have to say the heads, unsurprisingly, are not that great. With that much wear on the upper drum, that's a really good sign that the head wear is also going to be pretty poor. But it's working. Somebody has fiddled with the alignment on the exit side, so the audio head was played with. So yeah, there we go. That center, see if we can get it without light shining on it. So center tracking, I've managed to get it so that's farthest right and farthest left. So it's not bad at all. Sound-wise, it's not bad until you put the hi-fi on. And it's actually not that bad now. But I find it very quickly cuts out. And with loud sounds, I do get distortion. So there's obviously something. Well, it's wear. There's head wear there. That just means that the hi-fi audio is not that great. But it does work. It is there. And I'm not going to spend a huge amount of time checking that. Just because it's, at the end of the day, it's fairly obvious that it is the heads. I am, however, really amazed how well I've managed to sort the tracking out, because it was actually quite poor when I first tested it. Other issues I had, the heads themselves, the head motor, I had real bearing noise when I first started it up, and it does still, on initial sort of startup, it is a bit noisy. That's to be expected because of the amount of push and pull I've put on the actual head assembly itself. So that's fine, and probably that'll settle down with use. Also, the loading mechanism, that's a tiny bit noisier than I'd like, but I think that'll settle down as it beds in. And I did actually clean the clock well, clean basically all inside here. I've cleaned the behind the clock display, and the VU meters, and I've also cleaned the headphone volume control and the headphone sockets. I haven't actually tested it, but probably will be awful. They always are. They're not really ever used, and as a result they do go beyond saving, but I've done it anyway. So yeah, I'm really pretty pleased with this, considering, and it's certainly a lot better. So what I'll do now is I'll put it back together, obviously give it a jolly good test. I'll have a few tapes put through it now, and we'll see how it gets on. But yeah, really pleased with it. So with that, thank you very much for watching, and I'd also like to say a big thank you to Roger, who donated a coffee via Ko-fi, and unfortunately I haven't got the beta tape. Unfortunately I haven't got the beta cake anymore, but I will certainly have that cup of coffee when I'm working late trying to fix these machines. Might just send me a little bit crazier than normal, but thank you very much, Roger, really appreciate it. And yeah, I am on Ko-fi, but I haven't really pushed it, to be honest, so yeah, really appreciate it. So with that, thank you very much for watching. Please like and subscribe. It means a heck of a lot to me. It really does. Really helps motivate me to make videos that are maybe a bit different as well. And there are a few to come. So yeah, it'd be really great if you could. And see you in another video. Bye for now.